The St. Louis Blues might just be the most exciting team in the NHL, and I cannot wait to tell you why coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. It is Monday, October 14th here on Locked On Blues. I'm your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about that road trip, that 3-game road trip in 4 nights. It was absolutely insane. And I want to give the Blues all the credit because that was not an easy road trip to complete whatsoever. Home opener tomorrow against Minnesota. Super excited for the Blues to be back home in Enterprise and just to be in front of the fans. I think that starting your season off on the road sucks because all the momentum of like that home opener kind of goes away. But we all know how I feel about the NHL schedule. And then finally, a look around the NHL because the games have been insane. And there's some teams that kind of have me worried, especially those in the Central Division. So we have a lot to talk about. I have missed regular season crazy hockey, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. What a road trip for the St. Louis Blues. So, as I said, this schedule absolutely sucks, but the Blues, they played a 1:30 game, like Pacific time. So for us, it was 3:30. So anyways, that was against the Kraken, and the Blues were down, okay? And I talked about this before. They were down by 2 goals, and they were able to score 3 goals in a row. Same kind of thing with San Jose. The Blues, I mean, they just did not start off the game right. They were down, but they were able to win in OT thanks to hashtag captain Braden Shen. That Sharks game, I thought it was kind of insane, to be honest with you, just because San Jose has been a problem for St. Louis for such a long time. And now that you have Celebrini, you have a Will Smith, you have 2 rookies that exhibit a lot of talent. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of nerves heading into those type of games. But overall, I think the Blues played well. Now we have the Blues at the VGK. Mind you, the Blues, they do not get a break. So they played the VGK on Friday the 11th. So it was a back-to-back following that win against San Jose that went into OT. And I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be so upfront and honest. I did not think the Blues were going to win that game. I know in the podcast I went back and forth. I'm like, well, the momentum that the Blues have. However, Vegas, I mean, they have players that are strong, right? They do have the superstar as in Jack Eichel, a jack of all trades, as I once made a joke about because he got traded and he wanted out. But anyways, that game I didn't get to talk to you about because it was the weekend here. So I do my episodes Monday through Friday, and I really wanted to talk a little bit about that game just because I found it quite interesting. And, you know, again, despite the fact that the Blues didn't gain any points on that specific game, I want to reiterate before I talk about what I liked. It's okay. You took 4 out of 6 points on this road trip, which is amazing. This is better than I expected. So I think for the Blues, they're setting a tone. They're a team that doesn't, stop fighting until the end, okay? And when I talk about the game and what I liked, I think you're going to really be able to tell why I feel the way that I do. This was also a huge game, by the way, for Bushi. He scored twice in this game. So in the first period, about 6 minutes in, it was a beautiful goal. Bushi scores, assisted by Kyrou and Philip Broberg. And then a couple minutes later, Jack Eichel scores, which typical, right? And then towards the end of the first period for the VGK, Ivan Barbashev scores. So that was his 3rd goal of the game. Second period, Shea Theodore gets the VGK, a 3-1 lead over the Blues. But on the power play, and this is where it's important, on the power play, Bushi scores, and it was a great setup by Kyrou, and then, of course, Justin Folk. The VGK score again in the final frames. Now they are leading 4-2 over the Blues. But then Robert Thomas gets his first goal of the season, hashtag RT season, assisted by Bushi, so his first assist. And Colton Pareko, but I was happy for Tomer because he kind of needed that goal. Not necessarily to gain confidence. I feel like it's not the Blues season until Robert Thomas scores. And we all know how I feel about Robert Thomas. But the point is, Thomas scored that goal with like a little over 4 minutes left in that game. So I think for anybody that's like, you know what, the Blues, they're not as good. They were able to keep up with the VGK, and I am going to be so upfront with you. I believe, okay, if the St. Louis Blues had maybe 5 more minutes added on to that 4 minutes and 40-something seconds, they would have been able to equalize the game. I think the Blues, for whatever reason, they play really well in that final frame, and it's quite an interesting thing, right? At the end of the day, Binnington was back in net, right? He was off for the Sharks, so they got him rested. He played fine. The VGK just have good teams. And again, it was so close to potentially a third comeback, right? However, the Blues did have more puck dominance in the third period. It's just a really interesting thing, right? How the Blues are really able to kind of have that push, have that little emphasis going on. Now, the VGK did outshoot the Blues 28-22, and the Blues did better on the faceoffs by a little bit, not by a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I mean, here's the thing. Nick Leddy, Colton Pareko, they played fine, right? Folk, Broberg, they looked good. Thomas, Shenny, Neighbors, again, solid. Binner, I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure he's frustrated about some of the goals, especially that Eichel goal. However, I think the Blues can say that this was a successful road trip. As I said, you just took 4 out of 6 points. And the NHL is talking about the Blues. I see it all over. I see it from Jonathan Hockey on YouTube. I see it from a bunch of YouTubers, actually. I see it from BR Open Eyes that sometimes will post my content, so shout out to them. But I see it all over the NHL. There is a fascination right now with the St. Louis Blues, and that's for one reason and one reason only. This is a team that is looking scary. I mean, you think about this road trip, right? And I'm not putting down San Jose in any single way, but you defeat the Kraken, who, you know what? They were a playoff team year prior, so okay. The Sharks, definitely getting that talent. But then the VGK, I think that was the true statement, where despite the fact that the Blues lost, and I hope this makes sense to all of you listening, despite the fact that the Blues lost that game, they gained something. They gained their respect because people around the NHL watching that game, maybe it was a Devils fan, or maybe it was like a Hurricanes fan. I don't know. Maybe took observation and was like, wait, they were almost able to complete their third comeback. This team might be better than we think. And, Edmonton right now is not off to a good start whatsoever. And I'll talk more about this when I go around the NHL. But you have teams that are projected to do well, like usual, right? And then you have teams that are kind of like projected to have bad seasons. And then you have the Blues, where you don't know where they're going to be. Is this a playoff team? Is this not a playoff team? What is this team? And I think when you ask yourself that question and you really think about the Blues this season, what is the goal? The goal is the playoffs. Do you think the Blues can do it? I mean, obviously, over the summer of the acquisitions that they made with Broberg, with Holloway, with Suter, Textier, who's out right now, body injury. They're never to be specific about what it is. The Joseph brothers. I mean, they made moves over the summer that were significant in a sense, right? Because those players that they acquired are the players who are setting up these goals, are the players that are working their butts off on defense. So you cannot count out the fact that the Blues did something this summer. They kind of quietly did a little mini rebuild, not a whole big rebuild, but a mini rebuild. And I think besides those offer sheet players, even Foxa, how can I forget him? they improved their team. So, yes, they are a completely different team than last season. And Coach Bannister has been very open about the fact that this is just not the same team as last season, which I do like. You know what I also like? Oh, Haley, back with the transitions again. Well, listen, I have to be a little bit creative, right? Because it is hockey season. But I want to tell you about hymns, okay? So, guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, give you that boost of confidence so you can be ready for whenever the mood strikes. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to the doctor's office and get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Guys, ever feel like you need a little bit more of a boost? Well, Hims has you covered, okay? No insurance is needed, and the low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/locked on. That's HIMS.com/locked on for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/locked on. The products mentioned are chewable, compounded products, which are not approved by the verified for safety effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. The home opener. Yes, yes, yes. It is the home opener tomorrow. I cannot wait taking on the Minnesota Wild. But most importantly, I think for the fans, I'm seeing the excitement. I wish I was out there in St. Louis right now. I really do. I really do. But there's just a buzz that I'm seeing, and I'm just feeling even more excited. I mean, Binner's been posting on social media, and it's nice seeing the players, just as excited about the home opener as I am here. Not in St. Louis, but there's still something special about home openers, right? And I think even not being in St. Louis, you still get that sense of my team that I'm a fan of is playing home ice hockey again. So I am so ready. I mean, outside Enterprise right now, I mean, they have the banners of, hashtag Robert Thomas, Jay Binns, Jordan Kyrou is on here. Where's Captain Braden Shen? Colton Pareka. Where's Captain Braden Shen? Do they not have hashtag Captain Braden Shen? That's kind of weird. So anyways, I want to tell you, if you are out in St. Louis about tomorrow's festivities, I always like to do that on this podcast because I want to give you, the locals in St. Louis, the information besides just talking about hockey, because sometimes I don't always go on my social media. So the home opener schedule, the home opener rally is at Union Station at 2:30 p.m. The pregame show begins at 6:15, and then opening puck drop is at 6:30. So that is the schedule for tomorrow. Hashtag Captain Braden Shen will be, I believe, at the home opener rally tomorrow. So if you want to see hashtag Captain Braden Shen, feel free to do that. So I have some good news. So I told you that Brandon Saad had a baby. Yay. Well, his wife did. But yeah, baby, woohoo, happy. So that means that he is now activated, which is super exciting for Brandon Saad. However, Textier is on injured reserve with an upper body injury, as I mentioned prior. So that is what's going on. But that was some news that I was quite happy about because I am a big Saad fan. I was so upset that he wasn't on the road trip, even though his money was. However, it was definitely a nice thing to kind of see. So anyways, big day today besides that. So Saad said, quote, "I feel good. I'm excited, obviously missed the trip and need to get up to game speed. I felt good in camp. I was skating here, working out while they were gone. You miss a couple of days of that with the delivery, but otherwise I feel ready to go. So yes, like he was totally healthy. Like his wife was literally just birthing your child. So I just want to put that out there. But it was good to see that he was actually still working out and doing all that he needed to do to get his body just, game day ready, so to say. So happy to have him back there. So anyways, here's the thing. Here was the practice lines for today. In the first line, Thomas centering, Saad to the left wing, and then Neighbors to the right wing. Second line, Bush, Bolduc to the left, Kyra to the right. Third line, hashtag Captain Braden Chen. I'm always going to say that. Holloway to the left and Matthew Joseph to the right. Fourth line, Boxa centering, Torborchenko to the left, and Nathan Walker to the right. Sundqvist, Textier, Kapanen, and Extras. Okay. Now we move on to some defense. So here's our pairings. Letty Pareko, Broberg Folk, Suter, Kessel, P.O. Joseph, and Perunovic were at the Extras. And then Benner, Hofer. So I guess there's question about Perunovic, about what they're going to do with keep the 7 or 8 defensemen. I'm not really sure, but Perunovic has moments where he plays good hockey, okay? And then he has moments where he plays questionable hockey, if I'm being polite. However, I think that it's fair to say that right now, there's not an answer on what they're going to do with Perunovic. In my opinion, I want to give him a chance. I mean, just due to the fact, hey, listen, he made the opening day roster. Why not give him a shot and see how he is? But at the same time, it could be a situation where he gets put on the ice and he doesn't keep up or perform well, and then a turnover happens and then the Blues lose. I don't know. Like, was that negative? Probably. But speaking of something positive, today, Coach Bannister spoke about Oscar Sundqvist and him coming back. I am so excited. I'm a huge Sonny fan. Literally, Oscar is the definition of, like, St. Louis Blues, okay? Like, he lives, loves, laughs this team. So here is Coach Bannister talking about Oscar Sundqvist. Take a listen.
Sonny is cleared for contact, yeah. I just think he's just kind of going through the protocol right now. It's definitely probably not week to week, more day to day, but I think he's still a little ways away. Just with playing every second day, it's hard to get him in a lot of contact with our group. So might be a little bit longer than 5, 6, 7 days, which probably puts him into later on next week at home. But we'll see how it goes over the next few days at least.
So that was something that was exciting too, was Bannister basically just reiterating it's going to be day-to-day, not week-to-week, which I think is really big news. I know that before it was like, there was a possibility that he might be ready for the first game of the regular season. That didn't happen, obviously, now that we're approaching game 4 of the season. However, it is positive news when the head coach of your team says, hey, he is day-to-day, not week-to-week. And do I think Sonny's going to make the biggest difference on the ice? No, but however, he is a fan favorite, one of my favorite players, and I just like to see his presence on the ice. He works hard. He does have good skill with the puck. I mean, listen, he's not a Robert Thomas. He's not a Jordan Kyrou. He is a Sonny, and that's the best way to describe him. So I am just really happy that his recovery is going well, which is most important, and when he's ready to play, he'll play, but this was really good news coming from the bench boss today. You know what else is good news? Well, I'm going to tell you about it because that is my friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Now, I always tell you what to bet on. And I did tell you to take the Detroit Lions over the Dallas Cowboys, and they demolish them. I told you, Jerry Jones' birthday, the Cowboys are going down, and I am so here for it. Tonight is actually the Bills and Jets, and I would love to see the Jets win at home. However, I want to look ahead to Thursday's game because this will be an interesting one. Saints-Broncos. I would take the Saints, right? And I think with the Saints, too, you have to also look at this team. And Derek Carr, there's not the lines yet, right? But I would take him to throw at least 2 passing touchdowns. So if you don't feel confident about that, wait until the game's going on and you can see that he's kind of throwing the ball a little bit more because, let's be honest, Denver's defense isn't that good. And you can place your bet on that. So Saints money line plus Derek Carr to throw 2 passing touchdowns. A look around the NHL. So this is a segment I like to do on Mondays just because sometimes I like to see, hey, what is going on with our competitors around the NHL? And it's a fun way for me to kind of have that conversation because I know it's the beginning of the season, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be very blunt with you. Despite it being the beginning, it's going to sneakily come to December very quickly, and it's going to come fast. So we beat the Golden Knights, right, on Friday. Didn't play hockey for quite a while. And I'm more so focusing on our Central Division friends. So a game that I found interesting was on Saturday the 12th at New York, Utah Hockey Club was able to defeat the Rangers 6-5 in OT. I told you Utah is one of those teams that is a little bit scary despite the fact that they lost today to the Devils. I would still keep an eye on them. You also have the Wild falling to the Kraken in a final shootout. So they still get the point, but still, the Wild are kind of hanging in there. We came back against the Kraken, but I'm just saying. Then you have the Dallas Stars who not even just defeated, shut out the Islanders. You have the Avalanche that lost to the Blue Jackets 6-4. So why am I focusing on Colorado right now? Because Colorado right now they're 0-2, okay? They lost both other games, and it's not something that I kind of expected to happen. They get demolished by the VGK 8-4. Then they really lose badly by the Blue Jackets, who are not a good team. So right now in the Central, I know it's very early, okay? You have the Stars who are undefeated, right? 3-0. You have the Jets who are undefeated, 3-0. You have Utah who was 3-1. Then you have us 2-1. The Wild, are 1-2. The Blackhawks are 1-1, and then the Preds are 0-2, and then you have the Avalanche who are 0-2. The schedule is weird. Some teams play more, but however, I do want to point out that the Stars and Jets, I kind of expected Utah coming out as hot as they are. We know how I feel about Logan Cooley. However, I was not expecting the Avalanche to kind of derail like that. I also want to mention the Edmonton Oilers who are 0-3. The VGK is undefeated, by the way, but the Edmonton Oilers being 0-3 is something that I found really interesting as well. I know we ended up getting a couple of their players this past offseason, but I don't think that made the whole difference on the team. Somebody says that it takes about 3 to 5 business games for the Oilers to actually begin playing hockey, but they lost 6-0 to the Jets. They lost 5-2 to the Blackhawks. And then 4-1 to Calgary. Even though 2 of their goals were overturned, it still was a big loss. So that is going on around the NHL and kind of around our Central Division and Western Conference. Again, I know that the teams in the East are important too, but listen, right now, my focus is playoffs, so the East has nothing to do with that. I will talk to you tomorrow for our home opener episode. I cannot wait. And like always, let's go Blues.